Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We will chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We will chant from verses 68 to 72 of chapter 2. Tasmadhyasya mahabaho,
Tasmadhyasya mahabaho,
nigrihitani sarvashah,
nigrihitani sarvashah,
indriyanindriyarthebhyah,
indriyanindriyarthebhyah,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
ya nisha sarvabhutanam,
ya nisha sarvabhutanam,
tasyam jagati sanyami,
tasyam jagarti sanyami,
yasyam jagrati bhutani,
yasyam jagrati bhutani,
sa nisha pashyato muneः,
sa nisha pashyato muneः,
आपूर्यमाणमचल pratishtham,
आपूर्यमाणमचल प्रतिष्ठम्,
samudramapah pravishanti yadvat,
समुद्रमापः प्रविशन्ति यद्वत्,
tadvat कामायं pravishanti sarve,
तद्वत् कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे,
sa shantimapnoti na kamakami,
स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी,
vihaya kamanyas sarvan,
विहाय कामान्यः सर्वान्,
Pumanscharati nisprihah
Pumanscharati nisprihah
Nirmamo nirahankarah
Nirmamo nirahankarah
Sashantimadhigacchati
Sashantimadhigacchati
Esha brahmi sthiti partha
Esha brahmi sthiti partha
Nainam prapya vimuhyati
Nainam prapya vimuhyati
Stitva syamantakaalepi
Stitva syamantakaalepi
Brahma nirvana mrichati
Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are trying to absorb these sacred principles which are there in this verse number 71. Now, why am I saying that these are sacred principles? Whether you take nispriha, the principle, the sadhana of nispriha. See, all these have the sadhana aspect also embedded. So, on one hand, you need to absorb the principle. On the other hand, you also need to absorb the sadhana tip which is hidden behind these words, and you need to practice those sadhanas in your life. So that will give you a maximum benefit in terms of spiritual growth. So if you take these principles, like we saw charati, then we saw nisprihaha, nirmamaha, nirahankaraha, the without ego, the nirmamaha, without the sense of mindness. I'm just stating the last few principles which we have been seeing, but it's not restricted to them. Now, they are all divine principles. Why is it being said that these are divine principles? The reason is, when you get yourself absorbed in these principles, they have the power to make you divine. See, it is our association which actually molds us. In the Bhajagovindam, Adi Shankara says everything starts with satsang. Sat means truth. Sangha means company. Satsanga means company with the truth, with the good, with the higher. So why is it that we are having these sessions every Sunday? You can say every session is a satsang. So when you associate yourself with the master, automatically the focus will be shifted to the truth, will be shifted to the higher. Your consciousness will be uplifted. But the principle of satsang is not restricted only to a master, because some people think being with the Guru alone is satsang. That is a very narrow interpretation of what these great masters are saying. See, no doubt when you attend a session where you are with your Guru, now the principle of satsang will be very prominent there, because a master is always attuned to the highest truth, to the infinite. So those vibrations are going to be automatically emanated and you will be absorbing them. But as sadhaks, you should apply this principle everywhere in life. Anything which you do in life, anything which you pick up, which helps you to move towards the truth, becomes a satsang for you. Any object or any knowledge, when I say object, anything means it could be material or it could be in terms of knowledge, there is information, it could be emotion, you can apply it any way you want. Company of people. So any kind of company, we can say, Sangha means in this context company. Any kind of company which helps you to evolve, then that becomes satsang for you. And any company which pulls you down, which brings out the ego from within you, which strengthens your ego, that is the opposite of satsang. So satsang means that company, that experience which actually helps you to melt your ego and evolve spiritually. It helps you to expand your consciousness. And any experience which lays the emphasis on your ego, which encourages your ego, the ahankara within you, then that actually is the opposite of satsang. So when you take these principles, for example, you take nirahankaraha and you take nirmamaha, earlier we did nisprihaha. So all these principles actually elevate your personality as a whole. They serve in expanding your consciousness. So many points are being given to you. Now, when you're recapitulating, of course, immediately after the session is over, you'll recapitulate as many as possible. But when it comes to practice, you will automatically take up one or two principles which inspired you the most. Not that other principles are not good, but certain points would have touched your core, would have inspired you a little more. So naturally you will take them up. So when you keep soaking your mind in those points, in those principles, whenever you get spare time, sometimes when you're doing your work, something which happens outside can suddenly trigger, can suddenly remind you of these principles which are being expounded every Sunday. So in various ways, when you keep in touch with these principles, then that becomes satsang for you, because you are associating your mind with those principles which can directly take you towards the higher. And the more you keep in company with these principles, they slowly start entering your system and they expand your consciousness, they melt your ego. This is exactly like a salt which dissolves in water. So if you put a lump of salt in water, it is just a question of time. It will go on dissolving. And the beauty is the nature of water is to dissolve the salt completely. And as the salt starts dissolving, it starts becoming one with the totality. Initially the salt was solid, concentrated, but as it starts dissolving in the water, now it starts expanding with the water. So you are also like that salt lump, the lump of salt, concentrated. It's all concentrated around the conditioned I, the ego. Now, these principles are like the water, They help you dissolve your ego. So if you stand outside, that is, if you don't put the salt in the water at all, but you want the salt to completely dissolve, to completely melt, it is not possible. You will have to put the salt in the water. It has to get into the water and it has to soak itself in the water. Then only the whole process of dissolution will happen. So when you gain this wisdom externally, merely intellectually, now it is like having the salt outside the water and just analyzing. Oh, when the salt dissolves, it will become one with the water, and all that in theory you're saying. But actually the salt is separate and the water is separate. The yogic approach is nothing but taking a further step ahead, taking the salt and putting it in the water. That is soaking your mind in these principles. That is why these masters said there are three steps. First step is Shravana. Shravana means listening with your ears and your mind. The basic listening means absorbing. And then they said Manana. Manana means reflecting, contemplating. And then they said Nididhyasana, meditation, meditating on the principles. The Nididhyasana practice is very difficult to actually master. That is why we have these small meditations after every session and the empowerment programs. In the empowerment programs, the actual the Nididhyasana principle is used to dissolve your ego and expand your consciousness. To whatever extent you can, that is it all depends on the student's level. But from that level, the next level of dissolution will happen. So as a sadhak, it is very important for you to consistently be with these principles. So it starts off, no doubt, with this practice of attending these sessions every Sunday. If when a person doesn't even do that, we would first say, start attending every Sunday. But now that you all are consistently attending these Sunday sessions, now you have to move to the next step, which is soaking your mind, soaking your intellect, your thinking, soaking all your emotions of the mind, the thoughts, everything in these principles. That is when a sadhak will get the doubt. So many principles are there. Even in Nirahankaraha, every week I am giving something or other. So which one should I focus on? It really does not matter. Just pick up those things which really inspire you. Sometimes one point may inspire you maximum. See, we are using the word point here, but actually what is meant as principle. Because when we generally use the word, write down the points, when we use the word points and all that, or concepts, they can be understood in a very limited way. It can become a mere intellectual exercise. That is why I am consciously using the word principle. So, if one principle may inspire you so much, then throughout the week, whenever you get some spare time, you keep getting back to that. Last week, for example, I said you are not the owner, you are the user. Now that may inspire you. Like this, every week something or other will be there. So in your spare time, what is the company which you keep? That is the question. Today, whenever there is a spare time, what do? You immediately start seeing some videos, either on the cell phone or in your laptop. And usually, if you see, it may either be the negative news which you're reading or seeing, or some videos which can trigger your negative emotions. That is what you should consciously try to avoid. Again, when I say try to avoid in the yogic sadhana, there is nothing like trying. You either do it or not do it. So when you understand the principle of Sangha, then you can effectively use that to elevate yourself. Some people, they take their cell phones even to the restroom. There also they play the news channel or something, and isn't it very absurd when you think about it? See, your dependence on these gadgets have become so much that you are unable to be without it even for a split second. It is again not the quantity of usage I am talking about, but your dependence on these things. So when constantly, when you are keeping your mind in the company of negative things, now those things are going to boost your ego, because ego has many branches. I'll cover that a little bit today. That will further help you. But in some form or other, the negative energy is being fed. Ego produces a lot of negative energy within you. So when that is being fed constantly, now all the good effort which you're putting in, when you're trying to do your sadhana and all that, will keep getting nullified. So apart from your main sadhana, throughout the day, follow this principle of satsang if you really want to be successful in practicing these principles and mastering these principles like nirahankaraha, nirmamaha and all that. Because when you're hearing these, no doubt they'll be so inspiring, because you're all sincere sadhaks. See, these sessions which we're having every Sunday are actually meant for sadhaks only. If you're a non-sadhak, you cannot continue with these sessions. A person may be very religious, they may be doing pujas and all that. Still, he or she may not be able to be consistent with the yogic approach, because this is much more subtle. You have to become a sadhak, not a mere devotee, or not a person who merely seeks knowledge, or a person who is merely ritualistic. These things are very relative. Actually, they are again worldly only. So you're putting in that effort to get into the yogic approach. Now you have to extend it by using this principle of satsanga. If you just take this principle of nirahankaraha, we even started seeing what is nirmamaha. Now they are all so elevating, but in the rat race of life, you are bound to get disconnected. That is why everyday sadhana is important. Once a week, these sessions are being given to you, but then every day you need to do your yoga sankirtan sadhana, and then whenever you get some spare time, just soak your mind in that point, or it could be one or it could be several points. Points means your principles, remember that. In those principles which elevate you. If you're finding that difficult, these videos are there in the YouTube, so you can just play any video of your choice just for 5 minutes or so whenever you get some spare time to maintain that satsang. Just once or twice a day when you get some time. Don't overdo it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes when you get some spare time. That will immediately keep your momentum going. In case your inspiration level comes down, again you will be awakened. You will be pulled up. This external help is very much required to gain mastery over these very sacred principles like nirahankaraha, nirmamaha. See, if you are listening to these things consistently, every Sunday, if you're doing the sadhana of getting yourself exposed to the Yoga Sankirtan, don't think that the starting point is this birth. It goes way back, your previous births. But you were unable to clinch it in those births because of the nature of the mind. It tends to get disconnected. So again, the opportunity is being provided to you. This time, don't miss it. So when you use this principle of satsang, and when you keep soaking your mind in these sacred principles, what will happen is, divine principles we can say. So what will happen is, just as the water dissolves the lump of salt, similarly the energy of these principles will start dissolving your ego completely. The aham, the ahankaraha will start getting dissolved, and when the ego starts getting dissolved, automatically the mamakaraha, the sense of ownership, the possessiveness, that also will start getting dissolved. The basis or the foundation behind any sadhana is nirahankaraha and nirmamaha. If you take the various practices which these masters have given, and if you go a little bit deep into those practices, you will find that they will all be based on nirahankaraha and nirmamaha only. I'll just give you some examples to make it clear to you. Let us say take something like Bhakti Yoga. Now, the moment they talk of Bhakti Yoga, they give certain practices. Of course, that's Bhakti Yoga is a very powerful and vast sadhana, But I'm just taking that aspect which is related here. So one of the things which they ask you to do as a practice of Bhakti Yoga is bowing down. There are two ways of doing it. Either you keep your palms together and you bow down, or you place your palm on the heart. This is heart, the heart chakra, which represents unconditional love. So with love and devotion, you bow down. It all means one and the same. Now, why do they ask you to do that? It is to dissolve the ego. If you take Jnana Yoga, now as you gain knowledge, there is a chance that the ego can be boosted. You may start feeling that, yes, I know more than others. In order to prevent that, any scripture you go, they will always lay emphasis on surrendering to the Guru. If you are embarking on this process of gaining the scriptural wisdom, the first thing that they will lay emphasis on is surrender. Only after that, the wisdom will start. In many of the scriptural texts, they start off by saying, without a guru, you will not be successful in your sadhana. So before a person starts off in the process of Jnana Yoga, the principle of surrender, when they say without a guru, they mean without surrendering to a guru. That's what they mean. It's not just merely associating with a guru that matters. It is how much you are devoted, how much of devotion and surrender is there which matters. So they lay a lot of emphasis. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, the actual Bhagavad Gita is given by Krishna only after Arjuna surrenders. It's very, very interesting how he has structured the Bhagavad Gita. Because many people say Bhagavad Gita is one of the highest expositions of this ancient wisdom. It is the fifth Veda and all that. All that is fine. Bhagavad Gita may be a very, very high, wonderful scriptural text. But how much are you going to absorb? That is what matters ultimately. And if you see in the very structure of the Bhagavad Gita, he has given you that clue. As long as Arjuna thought he could handle it, he kept on talking, he kept giving various reasons. He was trying to convince Krishna. The wisdom was not given to him. But the moment he said, I seek help, I am your disciple, please, guide me. That feeling of surrender when it came, which is subdual of ego, subduing one's ego, then the wisdom is being given. Similarly, if you take charity, let's take the aspect of charity in Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga is also another very vast sadhana principle. Anyway, we'll be seeing it in chapter 3. Now, we'll just take one small aspect of charity. Now, what these great masters said was, whenever you do some charity, let's say you give some money, some wealth, never give it in a round number. Haven't you observed this? They from the ancient practice, they always give, they don't give it as, let's say for example, you want to do charity of 10,000 rupees. Now, they say do it as 10,001. Even if you give 100 rupees, it will be 101. Now, have you ever wondered why are they doing it as 101, 1,001, 10,001? There must be some reason behind that, no? There is a very deep principle ingrained there. See, when you, let us say you give 10,000 rupees or $10,000, whatever your currency is. Now, when you give it as a round figure, the psychological implication, the psychological effect it has on you is that you get a sense of completeness. Yes, I have given. When you add that one, say 100 is complete. When you say 101, now it is a beginning, it becomes a beginning, not an end. So when you do charity, they don't want you to, boost your own ego by feeling that yes, I have given something solid, whatever be the number. It may be 10,000, it may be 1 lakh, it may be 10 lakhs, it may be 1 crore, 100 crores, 1 million, billion, whatever be your way of counting, it does not matter. It is not the quantity, but the moment you develop an ego over it, then the whole exercise of doing that charity will be wasted. That will not give you that spiritual upliftment. So, in order to get into a sense of humility, they said, okay, now you're giving 1 million, 1,000,001. Oh, I've just started. That feeling. So, whether you practice it by putting one or not, it's not a mechanical practice of, putting one. If there is a principle behind it and you have to absorb the principle. So you see, every aspect of the sadhana which they have given is based on this principle of nirahankara. Even in Hatha Yoga, I'm giving you just one small principle from Hatha Yoga. See, they do the alternate nostril breathing. Actually, the alternate nostril breathing is not actually nostril breathing. In English, they are using these terminologies, but it is Nadi Shodhana and the Anuloma and Viloma, where the Nadis get purified. There are so many subtleties to that. We are not getting into all that, but in the beginning stages, they ask the student to use this mudra. This is called Vishnu Mudra, and the student is asked to close one nostril and inhale and then exhale through the other nostril. So this is done. Now, why this particular mudra? There is a deep sadhana principle of nirahankara ingrained there. This is called Vishnu Mudra. So when a person tries to master the breath, master the prana, there is again a chance of the ego getting boosted. Because when you master your prana shakti, you get a lot of powers, relative powers, So there is a good chance that the student may slip and develop an ego that yes, I have become very powerful. So how to now protect the student right from beginning? This is what the masters always taught. So Vishnu Yoga, the Vishnu Mudra has a deeper significance that is actually given in the Kapila Gita, which is nothing but the exposition of Sankhya Yoga which we are doing here. So they are all connected only. The great Bhagavan Kapila gave out this Sankhya Yoga, whatever we are seeing here now, to his mother. And one of the things which he says is that in the womb, when the embryo is formed, who gives the life to that embryo? He says, it is the Lord, it is the Supreme Infinite, which blows the prana, the breath, into the individual. So if you take Lord Vishnu, he has a conch, So this Vishnu Mudra, when you do this, it is so similar to blowing of a conch. So it is very, very symbolic. Vishnu blowing the conch is representative of that infinite supreme reality, which is the life-giving principle behind all life. As it were, blowing the breath, the prana, into the entire world, all the manifestations. So when you do the Vishnu Mudra, immediately you get into a mode of surrender, provided you understand it properly. If this understanding is not there, it's just a mechanical exercise. So right at the beginning, before you start the process of mastering your breath, the ego is cut by using the Vishnu Mudra. So I am not the ultimate controller of the breath. It is that supreme, infinite Lord who is the ultimate controller. So with that spirit, when a person does these practices, it will help him or her to evolve spiritually. Otherwise, it is just an external mastery. So every aspect, when you use it properly, it can help you to, it will serve as a satsang. It can help you to evolve spiritually. But when you don't use these aspects properly, they will just become mechanical practices. Last week I had given the 7 case endings, the declensions of the root asmad, aham, then mam, and you remember, no? All that they were given to you. One of the declension is mama. So a Sanskrit Pandit, professor who has done his PhD in Sanskrit, he has sent a mail to me, beautiful mail. It's a very long mail, that's why I'm not reading the full mail to you, but what he has written is something fascinating. He says, sir, I have always been fascinated with languages, especially the ancient languages like Sanskrit, and I have done my PhD in Sanskrit, and for so many years I've been with this. But the spiritual sadhana of the simple case ending, because this is just basic Sanskrit, when you say from asmad, aham, mam and all, it is very basic. But the spiritual principle expounded by you was mind-blowing, he says. And then he has asked me this question, why is that in spite of being with all this for so many years, this small thing didn't strike me. Much earlier, another Sanskrit scholar also asked me a similar question when we were doing the dhyana slokas, the 9 powerful verses of dhyana slokas. He had asked a similar question. It is because of this only. Whenever you use anything, whether it is language or whether it is charity or whether it is the Hatha Yoga practices or devotion or the study of scriptures, anything, whenever you use that, whenever you use the yogic approach and use it to dissolve your ego, then that will help you to evolve spiritually. But when you just do it as an end in itself, then you will become a master of that particular art. Like there are many people who can do the breathing part and also well in Hatha Yoga. They will stand upside down, they'll do all the asanas perfectly, but that's all it is. They are not yogis, they are just practitioners of certain aspects, external aspects of yoga. Similarly, you may become a great Sanskrit Pandit, a Sanskrit scholar, but yet be totally away from what real spirituality is. Some people may have great knowledge of the scriptures, but they may be far away from true spirituality. So what can help you to become spiritual is integrating whatever you're doing with these principles of, especially the principle of nirahankara, expansion of your consciousness and dissolving your ego. Then it becomes a satsang for you. The Sanskrit Pandit who had sent that mail, is such a humble and gentle person, so wonderful. So all he requires is just the application of the yogic approach. Actually, he has put in a request saying that would it be possible to have special sessions on unraveling the sadhana principles of every aspect of the Sanskrit language. We'll see if because time is limited. So like this, so many requests keep coming. Right now, I'm focusing on creating the base material of Yoga Sankirtan and the empowerments and all that, which itself is taking up a lot of time. We'll see, but even if I don't take it separately, whenever the context comes, it will be expounded. So, what did we see last week? Nirahankara means the principle of dissolution of ego, the expansion of consciousness. And if you allow your ego to keep growing, then it will get into mamakara, mindness, which starts binding you with the external world. Any kind of bondage is slavery, and when there is slavery, there will be stress and agitations. The vision of these great masters is freedom, real freedom. When Swami Ramatita went to United States in the early 1900s, I think it was 1902 or something like that. When he went there, many people heard his lectures, and the president of that place, he came to visit Swami Ramatita because he was so enamored, he was so attracted by the amount of wisdom he had. And when he came to meet him, he was just relaxing between two trees. They had tied a kind of a swing, and Ramatita was just lying on that and relaxing. And the president came. And he spoke to Ramatita for a while, and Ramatita also responded and all that, and then he went away. And then what he writes is, the president is such a lovely person, but very, very bound. The president of the so-called free state is not even 1 millionth free as Swami Ramatita was. Why? Because of the various conditionings. He says Rama is totally free like a bird, enjoying himself in the present moment. Whereas that so-called person, see, president is only, he's saying that symbolically. The so-called successful people in the world, they are actually very, very bound. They have not experienced even 1/1,000,000th of the freedom which a yogi experiences. Even a little bit when you experience that freedom, that gives you enormous amount of peace and happiness. Unquantifiable bliss. See, words actually fall short. So whenever you bind yourself with something external, it could be an object, it could be a person, then you will lose your freedom. Here we are talking about the internal bondage. Again and again I am cautioning you, don't confuse these things with external, with the external way of functioning. So when he says don't have the sense of mama, ownership, it is the internal attitude which he is talking about. By giving away your possessions externally, you are not going to give away your ego necessarily. A person may have a lot of wealth, may actually possess a lot of wealth. A person may be having a lot of relationships. It does not matter. But if he works on the inner consciousness and dissolves this mamakaraha, then he will become spiritual. A person may have very less things, externally as possessions, but still may be loaded with ahankaraha and mamakaraha, the sense of conditioned I and the sense of mindness. See, I know many so-called spiritual people, but they are actually not spiritual. They give up external wealth and all that. But then they develop a strong ego over the fact that they have given up. I have given up everything, they say. Actually, you have not given up anything, because what you need to give up is that sense of I, the sense of mindness. So earlier you said this wealth is mine. Now you're saying the giving up of wealth, the sacrifice is mine. The act of sacrifice, now I have given up. The same ahankaraha and mamakaraha are coming in another form. So, see, till you get to the state of sthita prajna, the ego is going to be there. It's not that you hear all this immediately now, answer, I am free of ahankaraha and mamakaraha, everything has been through. It cannot happen like that. It gradually, your ego gets dissolved. And when it gets 100% dissolved, you become a sthita prajna. But till then, what these great masters have given is that you can practice controlling the ego, not allowing the ego to manifest too much and to take complete charge of your personality. That is why they have given the sadhana of nirmamaha. See, actually nirahankaraha itself is complete. But then why have they given nirmamaha? Just as an example, nirmamaha is one of the examples where if you allow the aham or ego to keep on growing, now it will start taking, it will start growing into monstrous proportions, and then it will start possessing you. So that extra force of the ego can be avoided, or rather should be avoided, in order to consistently do the sadhana and become a sthita prajna. So even though he says nirahankaraha, which is the ultimate sadhana, he also gives nirmamaha. That itself is a sadhana tip to say where you need to start from is not to try and root out the ego completely at one go. It's not possible. What can you do? So the more practical way of going about it would be to curb the ego, not allow the ego to develop branches. See, the ego is like the root and the tree, the main tree, let us say. Now to cut that completely from the roots, that's going to take time. You have to become a sthita prajna. It's a process. Till then, what they are saying is, by giving the example of nirmamaha, which is one modification of ego, they are saying you can try and keep the modifications under control. That is well within your limit. The ego will keep on trying to come in some form or other. So whenever you see the manifestation of ego, there you need to apply this principle and curb that tendency. That is why the word karaha is so important. To handle the ego by itself, that is, just take the aham, expand it into the infinite and get to that state of aham brahmasmi, is a process. It cannot happen at one go. So that is why they are saying through the manifestations of ego, karaha, you can keep the ego under check. So as a sadhak, that is where you should focus on first. Whenever you are acting, whenever you are speaking, whenever you are doing any activity, or whenever you are relating with someone, in any kind of manifestation, you can actually observe the ego trying to establish itself. Supposing you do some work, immediately, I only did it, that extra emphasis will start coming. Now when you observe that, you clip that off. See, whether you emphasize on the fact that you have only done it or not, the work has been done. So if you can shift your emphasis from the fact that I have done something to the work, this has been done, then that becomes a powerful sadhana for you. When you are relating with people, the mamakaraha will come. Especially in relationships, the possessiveness will come. I'll touch upon the possessiveness. I'll give you a few insights into that also today. So that, as of now, this much you understand. So when the possessiveness manifests in a relationship, you can apply this principle and clip off the possessiveness. Then it becomes a powerful sadhana. When you are using your possessions, your car. Now, some people try to mechanically practice this. They try to avoid using the word my in a very in an unnatural way. If you go and ask them whose car it is, they will not give a straightforward answer, this is my car. Some people say it is all God's. People who exhibit such things, usually they are the people who will be riddled with ego. A yogi develops this attitude, develops the inner consciousness silently. He is not going to brag about his spiritual development. See, making such statements like it is all by God's grace, if that is done with a real bhavana, it will elevate you spiritually. but 99% of the time that is just a cover up for the ego. So you will have to be careful. That is why the ahankaraha is a very, very deadly thing. It will come in so many forms. Sometimes it can come in the form of spirituality also. Some people always, whenever they talk or whenever they write anything, by God's grace this has happened, by God's grace. When you are using that too many times, just watch yourself. It is not a rule, but generally speaking, that may be a cover up for the ego. The ego itself may be trying to make you falsely humble. You need to be careful. That's why a master never goes by the verbal expressions of a student or based on what words a student uses in the mail or sending him a letter and all that. He sees what is the bhavana behind that. See, you can manipulate with the words. Sometimes you can type a sentence and then you can go on refining the language and you can make it very nice and smooth. This is all the manipulation. But a master usually sets aside all that and straight feels the energy. Is it coming from ahankara, that is the mamakara, the manifestation? It cannot be completely free of ego. Then that person is a sthita prajna. But is the emphasis on the ego, has the main branch developed too many side branches? This is what he'll see. And if he sees that, he'll immediately try to clip that. He'll help the student to clip those. Because when the branches become too many, then it becomes uncontrollable. That comes and spoils the very sadhana. So when you keep the manifestations under check, then you can keep doing your sadhana on a consistent basis. Even though you will still have ego, at least that will not grow into monstrous proportions and engulf you completely. This has been so beautifully depicted in our Puranas, When Lord Muruga, when he fought with the demon, Surapadman. Now it is very interesting how the battle has been described. Whenever Muruga killed Surapadman, he reappeared in another form. And then he killed him in that form, he appeared in another form, he reappeared. He kept on reappearing in different forms, and Lord Muruga went on killing each and every form. And finally he came in the form of a tree, mango tree. So he used his, what we call as the veil, veil means the spear, to cut the tree into two halves. And one became the peacock and the other became the rooster. So this is the story part. But sadhana principle embedded is what most people miss out. Surapadman represents the ego within you. And Lord Muruga is a manifestation of that infinite. With that Shakti, you can fight the Surapadman within you. And when you are fighting, when you kill the ego in one form, it will come in another form. You may curb the ego which is manifesting in your speech. It will come out in the action. You kill the demon in that form, he will again appear in another form. But patiently, Lord Muruga went on handling each and every form which the demon took. That is how, as a sadhak, you should also function. With infinite patience, not being result oriented. Result orientation means I want the benefit immediately. In spirituality, don't look for immediate benefits. So when you patiently do your sadhana, it becomes like a game, the inner battle. So with the Shakti of the infinite, with the help of the Guru Shakti, you go on handling the various forms of the ego, aham karaha, mama karaha. Here he is not using the word mama karaha, but that is also being added and given to you so that you understand the sadhana, the significance of these principles with respect to sadhana. So what are the different manifestations? Your speech, your actions, your emotions, your thoughts. So everywhere the ego will become pronounced. So handle those manifestations. Don't lay emphasis on the I part so much. I have understood. Yes. See, there is a difference between saying I have understood, I have understood. Then the emphasis is on I. This is my car. This is a normal statement. This is my car. Then there is the emphasis. So that is only Sura Padman within you. Sura Padman means ego, wanting to emphasize and take the credit. This is my child. This is my house. These are all factual statements. Nothing wrong with those statements. It's not per se the statement. It is the bhavana behind it. This is my house. This is my child. So throughout life, there is so much of emphasis on that my. That is what is nirmamaha. When you go to somebody's house and let us say a 5-year-old kid is there. Now what the parents will do is immediately call the child. And the parents will ask the child to tell all the rhymes, and if there are any slokas, Sanskrit slokas, if the child knows. Now the parents will ask the child to recite all the slokas. Then then they'll say, hey, my daughter or son, he can sing very well. They'll ask him to sing a song, they'll ask him to do a dance performance, everything. The child becomes very pressurized. Why? Why is all that being done? Because that feeds the ego. My son or my daughter has so many talents. So the parents actually want a recognition from the visitors. Observe the psychology. So just to get that recognition, the child is put through so much of pressure. It is absurd when you think about it. Wherever the sense of mindness is there, the emphasis is on that I, mine, then true unconditional love goes away. There is so much of pressure on the other person also. One lady actually told me this. She said, I have told my son to always get first rank only. So I just asked her casually, okay, so what happens if we get second rank? She said, no, I have told him, sir, you have to get first rank because, in the parties, I have told all my friends that my son is extremely brilliant, he always gets first rank. The son is only was in the 5th standard or something. 5th standard means what? He was around 10 years old. So just to tell her friends and get an ego boost that my son is first rank, now she was putting so much of pressure on the boy. So I explained this to her. I said, what you're doing is wrong. See, if you inspire your child and say you should always be successful in whatever you do, give your best and always aim for the best, that is different. But if the emphasis is on my child should become number one and all that, then that will cause a lot of pressure on the child. The same activity, when it is backed by mama karaha, now that will cause a lot of pressure on the other person. It will cause a lot of pressure on you also. That lady immediately understood that. I said, don't put that psychological pressure on your child. Let your child flower. Yes, inspire your son. Tell him what, if you're studying, give it your best shot. But don't put that extra pressure. What does it matter, whether your friends think high about him or not? How does that bring your status down? See, just to maintain your status, you're putting the pressure on your son. So the moment she realized that, she started actually crying. She said, my God, for the last few years, I've been putting so much of pressure on my son. Incidentally, her son had this a bedwetting habit, and the day she stopped putting the pressure on her son, the bedwetting habit also went away because of so much of fear. The little boy was feeling so much of pressure. So the mama karaha is one of the manifestations. The mind is such a powerful manifestation of ego, which can come and destroy your peace and others' peace. So that is why last week I said, bring this bhavana, bring this bhav that I am not the owner of anything, I am only the user here. When you go to a place, stay there for a while and then come back, then you are a traveler there. You are called a traveler. A traveler is one who keeps moving. He doesn't stay put at any place permanently. Now if you take this life, you are a traveler only. You came in, you will be here for a while and again you will have to go. You will have to continue with your journey. So you being a traveler, what is the logic in developing the sense of mindness? There is no logic. The moment you understand that you are in this journey of life, you means here the individual soul, the jivatma. You as a jivatma is going through this journey of life, and this birth and this death, that is this lifetime, is one birth, one lifetime which you are covering. So you are a traveler. The moment you get this deeper perception, the mamakaraha, the mindness will start going away. Your focus will shift from that mine, that this is mine, that is mine and all that, to what duties do I need to perform so that I complete my experiences, because my ultimate goal, my real destination is becoming one with the infinite, is becoming a sthita prajna. So if you are in the family, you will do the duties perfectly. As a mother, you should do your duty. See, if you take the example of the lady, when she got into the state, when she started feeding the ego, now she was not doing her duties as a mother to her son. Even though she was thinking she was doing her duty, she was thinking it is love for him. But actually it is not love. It is selfishness. Whenever you have the mindness, it is an outcome of selfishness, but it can come in the garb of love. Generally today, selfishness is misunderstood as love. Love means it is unconditional. Love gives you the sense of purpose, the sense of duty. When you're selfish, you only claim rights. When you have love, you think in terms of what can I do for the other person. When you're selfish, your only focus is on what can I get from the other person. Here also, the mother was wanting the son to excel in his studies so that her status is, can be maintained with her friends. So, having the sense of mama, mindness, makes you very, very selfish and self-centered in life, but under the cover of love. Whereas, when you practice nirmamaha, the selfishness will go away, the self-centeredness will go away, and you will start developing unconditional love, true affection for everyone. So, that is one dimension. The other dimension of mamaha is the possessiveness. Possessiveness is a deadly quality which curbs everyone's freedom. Whenever you are possessive about anything or any person, now you become bound by that person or by that object. And not only do you get into a state of bondage, you also try to bind the other person to you. Not only do you lose your freedom, you also try to curb the freedom of the other person. You don't allow the other person to be himself or herself. That is the deadly quality of possessiveness. Whenever you are possessive about something, you cannot enjoy that object. Whenever you are possessive about a person, you will have problems in that relationship. See, just imagine if another person comes and sits on you, literally, physically. Now, how long can you bear? You will want to set yourself free, no? It's the same thing at the emotional level also. When you're very possessive about another person, now you will not give the other person that emotional freedom. You will always want the other person to think about you, to feel about you. See, the whole emphasis will be on I, mine, that person is mine, Even recently, there was a young boy who, due to the COVID time, there was so much of lockdown and all that. So the classes were all online from home. So now that things are settling down, he was again called back to his college. So he had to go. So the grandparents and that family felt very sad, oh, my grandson is now going away. So when they heard this principle, not being possessive, giving the freedom to the other person, they immediately did the sadhana. They are good sadhaks, they immediately did the sadhana. They examined their own attitude. Yes, my grandson is going. Now I should be so happy for him because he's going for his studies. Now I should bless him. I should wish him. I should say, let him, wherever he is, let him prosper, let him flourish, let him come to the top. Instead, because of my possessiveness, I'm feeling sad. Now, when you give the energy of sadness to him, is that going to help him? Actually, that will weaken him. Whenever you are possessive, that generates a series of negative emotions, which actually weakens the other person. Whenever you have unconditional love, it gives a lot of strength to you and to the other person. So the grandfather and grandmother did that sadhana. They worked on their possessiveness. They did the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana and released all the possessiveness, and they were able to bless their grandson. Yes, with full heart, we wish you go and live your life. That is unconditional love. It is not about going or not going I'm talking about. Whatever weakens you, that is not positive. So, nirmamaha means the sense of ownership, number one. It also means possessiveness, where you want to completely control the other person's life. That is very deadly. So, take it up as today's sadhana. See, in your relationships, how possessive are you? Whenever you want to take control over another person's behavior, another person's life fully, then that is possessiveness. Why is there a rift between the parents and the children? There is a generation gap and all that. There is nothing like generation gap. As a sadhak, you should be so flexible. According to the modern trend, you change your your habits. That's all. As simple as that. What generation gap? It is because of the possessiveness that there is a rift, not because of the generation gap. Actually, if you drop off the possessiveness, then you will be able to understand the modern trend, that is a change of trend, very easily, and you will go along with that. There will be no rift. So take this up as the sadhana for today. Locate the areas of your possessiveness, and while you do the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, it will automatically start getting released. That extra possessiveness will start getting released. And when the possessiveness starts going away, you will find that you will start developing true unconditional love in that relationship. So do that homework today. It is very important. Next week we will go further, and I'll give you some more tips, and then we will be moving on to the next verse, also the final verse of this portion of this chapter. Okay, so we'll stop with that. Tomorrow is the Yoga Sankirtan intensive empowerment. So we are going to have 6 days of very, very intensive empowerment. It's not only going to be the basic empowerment, but I'm going to give you a further 3 higher empowerments are going to be given. So it is very important for you to come with the full bhavana. Many questions have been asked. Some of them I have already answered during the lectures. One person has again put this question to me, saying that he is visiting his son's place to US. That is, he is in India. He is going to US, and he says, it will be a new place, and my son will be there, my grandchildren will be there, and all that. So will I be in the right frame of mind to do this intensive sadhana? This is the question which he has asked. So the answer to that is, it all depends on you only. Now, see, as I told you, it's a long journey of your soul. In that, you may get completely attached to your son, grandchildren, and all that. Now, remove that attachment and possessiveness, and why don't you start practicing giving unconditional love? That will help them. When you're so attached to your children or so attached to your grandchildren all the time thinking about them, you will weaken them. You want them to be with you always. When you develop unconditional love, that will strengthen them. So choice is yours only. See, these external things like guests are coming, children are there, grandchildren are there, work pressure, all these things are external factors. One thing I'll tell you, whenever there is a higher empowerment, especially now Yoga Sankirtan intensive. Why intensive? Intensive means it's further higher level. Next level of empowerment I'm going to give you. So whenever the higher empowerment is there, the rate of burning up of your karmas, the karmic issues are going to be very high. And the karmas don't want to get burnt up. So they will put blocks in your mind by giving such convincing reasons. Oh, I'm going to go to a new place. Oh, my grandchildren are going to be there. My children are, too much of work is there. Something or other, some thought, some block, it will try to put in your mind to prevent you from doing the higher sadhana. Now it is up to you to understand this. That's why I'm saying, see, in our yogic principle, very, very simple. Guru Vakyam Param Vakyam. They made it so simple. That's what I have followed. That's what all the great yogis have followed. So surrender to the Guru Shakti, take that help and overcome these blocks. The higher empowerments are meant to burn up your karmas, but the karmas themselves will try to create blocks to prevent you from doing the higher sadhana, to prevent you from taking the higher empowerment. Now, you have the choice. So with a pure bhavana, surrender to the higher Shakti, surrender to the Guru Shakti and break these blocks. You take one step, 99 steps the Guru will take for you. But the first step you will have to take, that is the commitment. That no master can do for you. Okay, this is very important. Some others have asked whether this empowerment will be available later on, like how the Kaya Tattva is available. I did mention it last week. I really don't know. Whatever comes in the meditation, I just implement that. So I got instructions from the higher that Kaya Tattva can be kept online, for which I had to energize it a lot. It took about 3 months for it to get to a self-empowerment, self-sustainable mode, energy levels, a lot of work is there. So many programs we have had. Out of that, the higher instructions I got to keep the Kaya Tattva for a particular purpose. So whether this will be kept later or not, I don't know. Maybe, may not be. See, as a sadhak, when you see an opportunity, you utilize it, that's all. Otherwise, there is no end to these, to this kind of, requests. Take it as an opportunity for your lifetime, not this lifetime. I'm saying soul's lifetime. Okay, so don't put forward these kinds of requests. Though don't even ask me whether it will be available or not available and all that. If you missed an empowerment session because you didn't see the information and all that, that is different. That you have all the right to ask. But if you just postponed it because of some reason, external reason, then that is not good. Don't encourage that tendency of the mind. Anyway, choice is yours only. Whatever the facts are, it is my duty to just present them in front of you. Okay? So now we'll do the meditation. Gently close your eyes. do deep breathing. With every breath, I am absorbing the divine vibrations. I am going deeper and deeper into myself. I am not this body. This body is outside me. I am not this mind. This mind is outside me. I am not this intellect. This intellect is outside me. I am one with that infinite supreme reality. I choose to master the sadhana of nirmamaha, not having the sense of mindness. I am full of unconditional love. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. week after week, you're receiving so much of blessings from the higher. The real wisdom with the energy is being given to you. So consider yourself as blessed. Whatever problems you may be having, whatever issues you may be having, those are all temporary. This Shakti, the practice of these principles, the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, will help you pulverize all these challenges in life. Have the faith in yourself. Have the faith in the higher. You're very lucky that this Yoga Sankirtan intensive empowerment is happening, when you're absorbing the Sankhya Yoga. It is a divine plan that this is happening, because last few weeks the energy has been stepped up, and now when you do the Yoga Sankirtan intensive and come back, it will be at a different level altogether. Your consciousness will get a big boost. Don't come for this intensive empowerment with your focus on any particular problem. Set aside all your problems and come with a free mind. By the time you finish the 6 days, you receive the higher empowerment, the problems will get pulverized. You don't need to worry on that account at all, because many people have expressed their concerns saying that will this empowerment help me to solve this problem, that problem. That is all a very narrow application. Here I'm trying to expand you to the infinite, and you're getting yourself bound by something which is very petty and finite. Come with a free mind. One more question which a person has asked is, he has done the Prana Tattva, level 1 in December. So he's saying he's been practicing that along with the Kaya Tattva and Yoga Sankirtan. So now he is asked whether he is ready for the Yoga Sankirtan intensive. Such questions, I'm only referring to one question, but many people have asked such similar questions, The answer to all that is very simple. Follow the simple principle. Guru Vakyam Param Vakyam. Whatever the Guru says, that is the best for me. If you follow the simple yogic principle, all these questions will not come. You have done your Prana Tattva level 1. Now it is the same infinite which is asking the master to give you the Yoga Sankirtan intensive empowerment. If you are not ready, that opportunity itself will not be given to you. I mentioned this last week itself. In spite of that, many others have asked the same question in different ways. So when you surrender fully to the Guru Shakti, then there is these questions, they will not come. If whatever path the master sets, just follow that. You will benefit maximum. See, you should apply your choice and just follow the path which is being set. If you bring in your analysis, am I ready for that? I will first practice Prana Tattva, then I'll come to this. you will be the loser. If the master is giving this empowerment now, he is not giving. The higher is expressing itself. Remember that. Whatever comes in the meditation only I am implementing. So this will intensify your Pranatattva level 1 practice also. See, these are all complementary. So they are not different courses. It is one course which has been divided into many empowerments. So when you do one and when you miss out on the other one, you're limiting your growth. Again, as I said, in the yogic principle, we don't interfere with anyone's karmas. It is all your choice only. But since the question has been asked, I am explaining the principle. Okay? So come with a free mind from tomorrow. 6 days it is going to be a divine blast of energy, and then after that, next Sunday we'll be continuing with the Sankhya Yoga. Just that structure itself, it's so inspiring, isn't it? Okay? So see you in the next session. Thank you very much. Hari Om.